Hello friends, this is the third lecture on Girish Karnad's play Tughlaq. The topic of our presentation is sources, structure, form, themes and techniques in Tughlaq. We will see the objectives, refer to the sources, identify the structure, discuss the form with reference to metadrama and metahistory. We will focus on themes of power, secularism, social harmony, idealism, forgiveness, revenge, corruption and betrayal in the play. Further, we will examine the techniques of deep and shallow scenes, Makara and Makara comic pair, flashback, unities, that is called dramatic unities, irony, wit, humor, image and symbol, monologue and finally poetic language. After that, we will summarize the presentation. Let us start with the objectives. To explain the episodic structure of the play is our first objective. The second objective is to discuss the form of the play. Next, to consider the self-reflexivity of the play as metadrama and metahistory, because it is a play about a play. It is about history writing. Next, to elucidate the themes of the play. There are many themes which are interconnected, we will examine them. And finally, to examine the dramatic techniques used in the play. Now let us go to the sources. Girish Karnad found inspiration from Kirtinath Kutkote's criticism of Kannada literature. According to Kirtinath Kutkote, Kannada literature did not have a great historical play like that of Shakespearean historical plays. So, he wanted someone to write a historical play, a truly great historical play. This was the motivation for Girish Karnad to think about historical drama in the Indian context, particularly in Kannada drama or Kannada literature. So, he started reading some sources which are really historical. The first source that Girish Karnad referred to is Ziauddin Barani's Tariq-i-Firoz Shahi. We have to remember that Barani appears as a character in Karnad's play. The next source is Ibn Fadl Allah al-Umari's Masalik al-Abzar fi Mamalik al-Abzar. The third one is Ibn Battuta's Travels in Asia and Africa. This is a very well known historical source about our country and Africa. Abdullah Sirhandi's Tariq-i-Mubarak Shahi is another source for Girish Karnad to refer to and understand the history of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. We also have a literary model in the French playwright Albert Camus' play Caligula. Both Caligula and Tughlaq are existential plays, absurd plays. In that sense, they also have some kind of connections. What is the structure that Girish Karnad has used in this play? Let us see the opinion of U.R. Ananthamurthy, which he has given in the introduction to the play Tughlaq. The play has an interesting story, an intricate plot, scope for spectacle, and uses dramatic conventions like the comic pair Aziz and Azam, which is similar to the Akara and Makara of Nataka performances, to which theatre audiences respond readily. The simple reason for the audience to respond to such comic pair is full of laughter, humor, but serious comedy also we have in a serious tragic play. Tughlaq has an intricate plot, we will see that shortly. That is about the episodic structure. This play covers a period of 5 years from 1327 to 1332. So, all these years cannot be brought together chronologically. So, we have some episodes, very important episodes from different time scales of Tughlaq's history. Karnad has presented 13 scenes in the play. 6 of them are located in Delhi and another 6 are located in Daulatabad, and only one scene is found on the route to Daulatabad. that is called the transitional scene. 7 scenes are outside the palace and 6 scenes are inside the palace. This also has something to do with the deep and shallow scenes that we have in our tradition. At the beginning of the play, we find that Tughlaq feels lonely. As we move with the play, we find that Tughlaq becomes completely lonely. That kind of alienation is the crux of an existential play. We also find that a common man aspires to become something like Aziz. He wants to achieve something in his life. So he adopts all kinds of means to achieve certain social positions or money, power in his hands. So finally he reaches the palace and meets the king directly in front of him. When we look at the whole structure, we find that the play moves from corruption to corruption, and that results in some kind of huge tragedy, and the tragedy is of an individual, that is a protagonist, and also a country. We will see many of these references as we discuss the themes, the techniques in the play. We have to understand that Girish Karnad was a student of mathematics. He studied mathematics, economics, and he has said that his study of mathematics was very useful to him in writing a well structured play. Karnad says, "Mathematics gave me a sense of structure and the discipline to maintain the tension among different parts of a play. Mathematics trains the mind to think logically. It imparts a sense of equilibrium very useful for a creative writer." He also says writing a play is like building a house. What happens to each unit affects the rest of the structure. I was fascinated to find that changing one half of an equation brings about a change in the other half too. As a student of mathematics, he could understand the changes that he could bring in different locations and the kind of repercussions they will have on the entire play. He has shared such a view in his interview with Professor Tutun Mukherjee. What is the form that Girish Karnad has used? Remember Kirtinath Kutkoti's criticism of Kannada literature? Girish Karnad wanted to write a historical play. So it has its own form as a historical play. That means one has to choose a historical theme about some incident that happened, about some personality who shaped history at a particular point of time. So this is a historical play about the early 14th century Indian history. It is also a tragic play because it deals with the tragedy of Tughlaq, who is really intelligent, who is really capable, but then he failed as a ruler of the country. He was not understood by the people of his times, and also it refers to the kind of tragedy that can befall a country. This play has certain elements of a farce because at the end of the play we find Tughlaq mentioning this. Tughlaq asks Bharani to watch the farce of life directly because a common man like Aziz cheats the king and meets the king in the palace and commands him as a saint. He has some more power than the king. This play also has many elements of satire on politics, religion, ethics, and the whole society. Some kind of pretensions, some kind of differences between actual and ideal life are shown to us throughout the play. This play can also be called an allegorical play. It is actually a political allegory dealing with the political dimensions of a country which happened in the 14th century, but these events have a contemporary relevance. For example, critics have said that this play has resemblance to the Nehru period and also the personality of Mahatma Gandhi, particularly Mahatma Gandhi's simple way of living and attempt to unite Hindus and Muslims. We can find some echo in this play. Some critics have extended this allegory to Indira Gandhi period as well, where we have some kind of emergency, political leaders were arrested and kept in prison. So, such things are represented in the play. From a literary point of view, this play is also an existential play. It deals with the existence of human beings, focusing on certain themes relating to freedom, choice, responsibility, angst and void, the suffering due to alienation from oneself, alienation from God, alienation from fellow human beings. Because of the point of time in which the play is located, it can also be called a post-colonial play. It was written in 1964 and performed in 1965, dealing with the national identity and political modernity. So, this play can be called a post-colonial play, how the colonized people behave under a foreign rule. We also can call this play a Karnada play because it was written in Kannada language and it has some significance as the crown of Kannada drama. There was no other play like this before, and for the whole of Indian drama, this is often called a classic play. Many critics like Ananthamurthy, Subbanna and the actor Siya Simha and many others from different regions have identified this play as one of the greatest plays ever to come out from Indian soil. Now, let us discuss the metadramatic aspects of the play. A metadrama is a drama that deals with certain dramatic aspects, something to do with the performance. So, we can say that a metadrama is a play which stages itself with self-awareness, some kind of awareness of its being enacted on the stage. We have here, we have many conversations in the play where we have some references. For example, God asks Aziz at the beginning of the play, "What are you waiting for? The show is over, go home." The God tells the people, go home, in particularly Aziz. Similarly, the stepmother of Tughlaq says to Tughlaq, "I can ask a simple question without your giving a royal performance." Tughlaq, being a king, performs stately or in a royal manner. Tughlaq also has that awareness of being an actor. He says, "When I came here, I felt I needed an audience, a listener." So, we have a speaker and a listener in front of the audience. He also tells Barani at the end of the play, "Oh Barani, Najib should have been here now, he would have enjoyed this farce." This is the farcical element that we hinted at when we call this play a farce. It has a serious theme about a country, about the fate of a country, about the fate of a great king, but then at the end it does not have much meaning. That is why it becomes a farce. It is also a play which deals with chess. It is a play of chess. We have two characters, Tughlaq and Ainul Mulk. Ainul Mulk is an off-stage character, but they are called great chess players. Tughlaq and Aziz also play the cat and mouse game differently for different reasons, but finally all of them come to the same point that they want to have power over people. It is a play of intrigues. Lots of dramatic complications are created by various characters like Aziz and Tughlaq, Ratan Singh and Shihabuddin. Shihabuddin is not aware of the trap set by Ratan Singh, that we will understand a little later. This play is also called a meta-history or meta-historical play. We can say that Tughlaq is a play about history writing or history making. Tughlaq is aware of it because he says or he calls himself a history maker. Often he thinks about making history, and in fact we have Barani, a historian, as a character in the play. Remember the source Girish Karnad referred to by Barani, a real historian who lived in the court of Tughlaq for 7 years. So, Tughlaq says, "History is ours to play with, ours now." He claims history for himself. He built a fort at Dawladabad, and so he talks about his dream of building that fort. "I supervised the placing of every brick in it, and I said to myself, one day I shall build my own history like this, brick by brick. It is not only the building of a fort, it is also the building of history that he was conscious of. While Tughlaq has the idea of building history, we also have a counter view from Barani. He says history is not made only in statecraft, its lasting results are produced in the ranks of learned men. Barani is aware of certain pitfalls in the character of Tughlaq, so he draws attention to certain things and tells him to take a different course of action, but Tughlaq does not listen. At the end, we see Tughlaq saying, "You wanted to see history formed in front of your eyes as a historian, didn't you? Just wait a few moments and you will see not just the form but the coiled intestines of it. The complicated aspects of history, you will see yourself in front of you right now, wait for a while," Tughlaq tells Barani. Now, what is this intestine? We find Tughlaq being confronted by Aziz, a crook, a rogue, misusing all the schemes and meeting the king as a saint. That is how the whole play ends. We have a number of themes in the play. Primary theme is power and corruption. There are many others associated with these two themes. Secularism and spiritualism, social harmony, which we referred to already, the Hindu-Muslim unity is a concept that is hinted upon right from the beginning to the end of the play. We have a character Aziz who adopts a name of Vishnu Prasad, that is a Hindu, to file a case against the king. So, this Hindu-Muslim unity is a common theme that we find in the play. We also have the question of idealism and reality. The difference between the two is focused all the time. The king is always ideal, but Aziz is always very practical. Najib is also practical, but then after some time he is not available to support Tughlaq. We have the theme of loyalty and disloyalty. Some characters are loyal like Najib, whereas many others are disloyal. We have the idea of original and imitation. Original Tughlaq and imitation Tughlaq. Sheikh Imamuddin has similarity with Tughlaq, so this imitation and originality, these two are identified. They are often interchanged for the sake of power politics. We have the idea of forgiveness and revenge. In one case, that is in the case of Ainul Mulk, Tughlaq forgives the rebel, whereas in the case of Shihabuddin, he kills him on the spot. So, these two ideas go together. Next, we have crime and punishment. Different kinds of crimes are committed in the reign of Tughlaq. Some criminals are caught and punished, whereas some others are not punished. In fact, Aziz is a criminal, but he is not punished, he is rewarded. We have prayer as a theme, food as a theme in the whole play. Prayer is given more importance. We will spend some time on that as well. The whole play deals with the idea of an egalitarian society, an ideal society, but then the division in the society always comes up, erupts throughout the play. That is why we have this idea of egalitarian and divided society. These themes we have explicitly mentioned, all of them are intertwined and make a complicated play and plot in the play by Girish Karnad. There are many techniques which are used in the play, like deep and shallow scenes, Akara and Makara comic pair. We have the parallelism and contrast between characters. We have the flashback technique. Tughlaq recalls his own past dreams. We have the unity of effect and impression, if not the unities of time, place and action. We have irony, wit, humor, and also some imagery, powerful imagery we have in this play. Similarly, we also have powerful symbols in the play which help us to understand and appreciate the play. We will see them one after another. First, let us see deep and shallow scenes. Remember, the whole play has 13 scenes and there are two types of scenes. One is called deep another is called shallow. The deep scene is always set in the inner chambers and the shallow scene is always set in the open area. Some important characters appear in the inner chamber, that is where we have the deep scene. Ordinary people appear in the open areas like the yards, streets, plains, hills. We also have another scene where we have a movement, that is the movement from Delhi to Daulatabad, and that movement is indicated through a camp scene that is called a transitional scene. We also have a narrow strip near Kannauj to trap Ainul Mulk. This is actually reported, this is not presented to us. We have a description of the panoramic view of the Grand Trunk Road from the fort, that is again a very powerful scene for us to understand the path that the king has traversed. We also have a comment on the secret passage hidden within the fort. These different scenes of deep and shallow scenes contribute to the episodic structure that we have in the play. We also have the Akara and Makara comic pair tradition. This is actually a convention used in the Natak companies in Kannada drama. This is similar to the comic interludes we have in the western plays. Usually the comic interlude is presented in the subplot of the play. Normally there will be an interesting parallel between the main story and the sub story or the secondary story. In the subplot we have Aziz and Azam. Aziz and Azam in Tughlaq make up this Akara and Makara comic pair. One is a crook, another is a stupid person, that is Aziz is a genius and Azam is not so brilliant, he is often called stupid. So these two aspects, the bright and dull aspects, are represented through these two characters. We have the villain, that is Aziz, and also the simpleton who helps him some ways. Many physical actions and playful repartees happen between these two characters. They actually contribute to the comic effect of the whole play. Witty, comical, entertaining, implicit commentary on the main action of the play and the society we have through this comic pair. Unfortunately, Azam is killed at the end of the play. That happens, though this is part of the comic tradition, one character is killed at the end of the play. That actually further contributes to the tragedy of the whole play. We have parallelism and contrast. The main plot of Tughlaq, Najib and Barani is contrasted with the subplot of Aziz, Azam, Karim and Ghiasuddin. And we also have the contrast between Najib, the wily politician, and Barani, the learned historian. The stepmother and the Hindu woman can be contrasted in one way. The stepmother is very close to Tughlaq and the Hindu woman is far away from the king. Both want to have some kind of justice, some kind of harmony in society, but they fail. Two places, Delhi and Daulatabad, these two are contrasted, and similarly two sections of people, Hindus and Muslims, are also contrasted through these two different cities. In Delhi we have more of Muslim population, in Daulatabad we have more of Hindu population. That is why Tughlaq wants to have some kind of unity between them. We also have a parallel between Sheikh Imamuddin, the religious leader, and Tughlaq, the monarch, the political leader. They have similarity in appearance but not in thought. One represents religion, another represents politics. We can also see some kind of parallelism between Ainul Mulk and Aziz. Both are intelligent fellows. Ainul Mulk is a good chess player, Aziz is an excellent common man who can use all the schemes of the king to his own favor. So at the end both of them are forgiven by Tughlaq for their genius and skill. One more parallel we can see between Shihabuddin and Ratan Singh. Ratan Singh is considered to be the brother of Shihabuddin, but then we find that Ratan Singh betrays his own supporter, that is Shihabuddin. We can see the reactions of Hindu and Muslim people to the rule of Tughlaq, and there also we can see some kind of parallel and contrast. and the most important parallel or contrast that we can see in the play is the dream and reality. The dream of Tughlaq to make a great country and the reality of the people who suffer for want of food. Some of them starve and die at the end of the play because they do not have food. Flashback technique has been used by Girish Karnad in the play to great effect. In one context, Tughlaq shares his dream of a great empire with a young soldier of 19 at Dawladabad fort. He recalls his own age, 19, the age of 19, and at that time he was interested in building a great empire. So he built this fort when he was 21. Tughlaq says, 19, nice age, an age when you think you can clasp the whole world in your palm like a rare diamond. I was 21 when I came to Dawladabad first and built this fort. I supervised the placing of every brick in it, and I said to myself, one day I shall build my own history like this, brick by brick. This is the dream of building history, building the fort, building a great country. He remembers this in his flashback. Further, he says, one night I was standing on the ramparts of the old fort here. There was a torch near me flapping its wild wings and scattering golden feathers on everything inside. There was a half-built gate nearby trying to contain the sky within its cleft. Suddenly something happened as though someone had cast a spell. So when Tughlaq imagines, he finds that some kind of disturbance is there and that dream is shattered. Now let us see the unities. Actually this is a tragedy, but it does not have all the three unities that Aristotle has identified in his Poetics. The unities of time, place and action. Time 5 years, that is not exactly about unity. Normally unity of time refers to 24 hours, but here we have 5 years. Similarly place, two different cities in faraway locations, and action may have something to do with Tughlaq building his country, but then it takes place in a long period of time and different locations. We have problems with the dramatic unities, but then Karnad does not aim to follow these conventions. He wanted to build two plots and he integrated them very well, and so we can say that Girish Karnad achieves the unity of effect through thematic coherence, the theme or the character, that is Tughlaq, politics or state, that is his theme, and so by focusing all his efforts on the character of Tughlaq, the titular character Tughlaq, he achieves unity. Karnad also maintains the unity of impression by focusing on Tughlaq, the character, the main character, the protagonist. All actions of the play contribute to the whole drama. We have many actions like a case against the Sultan, rebellion of Ainul Mulk, killing of Sheikh Imamuddin, killing of Shihabuddin, banning and restoring of prayer, deaths of Najib and the stepmother, arrival of Ghiyasuddin and departure of Barani, and finally the loneliness of Tughlaq. All of them are well integrated. We actually do not notice the passage of 5 years of time from 1327 to 1332. It is least noticed. The shifting of the capital is seamlessly done through just one scene where there is a camp. People are received and sent to Dawladabad. At the end of the play, when Tughlaq is frustrated, he says, let us go back to Delhi, and this actually completes the cycle of starting from Delhi, coming to Dawladabad and returning to Delhi again. So all these actions suggest the complete cycle of geographical movement in the play, and we have some kind of unity in the play. This play is full of irony, wit and humor. This is a tragic play, but then we have excellent humor. You will love it, you will enjoy it. Please read the whole play. It's a fun to read the whole play and enjoy it, although the serious theme does not prevent us from enjoying it. Irony is a literary device for exposing the reality of life. There are differences. We think of one thing and do something else. We want to say something but mean something else. So we have contradictions in the play which are brought to us through the use of irony. The whole play Tughlaq is built on verbal and situational ironies. In one context, Tughlaq says, "This is no mad whim of a tyrant, my ministers and I took this decision after careful thought and discussion," that is shifting of the capital. He refers to it, but then his ministers, some of the lords and nobles, they do not believe it, and the people also do not believe it. We have wit, which is exemplified in different contexts, the intelligence of the characters or the ingenuity of characters, quickness of mind, verbal cleverness, skill in repartee, epigrammatic sentences, all of them we can find in Aziz, in Tughlaq and many other characters in the play. For example, we have this statement, a Muslim plaintiff against a Muslim king. I mean, where is the question of justice? So, a Muslim person cannot complain against a Muslim king, then there won't be any justice. So, a Hindu person has to complain against a Muslim king and get justice, only then justice is proper, otherwise it is improper. That is the argument of Aziz. The whole play is full of witty conversations for both laughter and also wisdom. Please remember, it is not just laughter for mere enjoyment, we will also understand life in much finer details if we read the play and look into the niceties, the different aspects of the play presented to us. We have humor for comic relief, we have comic scenes, characters and speeches aimed at sympathetic laughter. We do not actually hate the characters, as he is a villain, he is a rogue, but we do not hate him, we actually enjoy the kind of laughter that he creates in us through his actions and words. This laughter created in the audience does not border on derisive laughter, that is, we do not hate any character, even Tughlaq we do not hate him, and that is why we say there is no malicious satire in the play. The satire is gentle satire, the irony is gentle irony, that is why this is a great play. We have imagery and symbol in the play. Imagery refers to the concrete pictures of the states of mind of people, of situation which are available throughout the play, and to bring us these images, Girish Karnad uses similes and metaphors throughout the play. For example, we have one image here, arrows poured into him and within minutes he looked a gory porcupine, that is Sheikh Imamuddin. This statement is given to us by Ratan Singh, who has come from the battle and reports it. Then we have another statement here, our prayers are ridden with the disease and must be exiled, that is Tughlaq says we have to ban the prayers. We have symbol, which refers to an image or an idea or a character who stands for something else. Tughlaq is a symbol of a failed ruler, he symbolically refers to Nehru, that is why we call it a political allegory. Chess is a symbol of manipulation and cleverness. We also have another symbol, Python, which refers to Tughlaq, who devours people, who kills people. We have a prominent symbol in the play which is called Rose Garden. This stands for idealism, aesthetics and poetry, but all these are killed at the end of the play when the Rose Garden is used for dumping copper coins. We have the monologue here, monologue of Tughlaq. He says, the moment shed its symbols, its questions and answers, and stood naked and calm where the stars throbbed in my veins. I was the earth, was the grass, was the smoke, was the sky. Suddenly a sentry called from afar, attention, attention, and to that challenge the half burnt torch and the half built gate fell apart. So Tughlaq is always thinking about some kind of ideal, and some people like the sentry, when he or somebody else calls attention to Tughlaq, then he comes back from that kind of reverie or dream. Tughlaq addresses a young man, so he says, no young man, I do not envy you, your youth, all that you have to face and suffer is still ahead of you, look at me. I have searched for that moment since then, and here I am still searching for it. But in the last 4 years, I have seen only the woods clinging to the earth, heard only the howl of wild wolves and the answering bay of street dogs. Another 20 years and you will be as old as me. I might be lying under those woods there. Do you think you will remember me then? Actually, the young man doesn't understand Tughlaq. Tughlaq is in a different realm of thought altogether. The young man is just fresh and new. He doesn't understand all that Tughlaq says. That's why we call it a monologue, and he feels that he is not understood by others. But we get an idea of what kind of thought processes that go into the mind of Tughlaq through this kind of monologue. We have an excellent poetic language in the play. We have just 2 samples. Stepmother says, "What's wrong with you? You spent years planning that rose garden, and now what has happened?" she asks. Muhammad replies, "I don't need a rose garden. I built it because I wanted to make for myself an image of Saadi's poems. I wanted every rose in it to be a poem. I wanted every thorn in it to prick and quicken the senses, but I don't need these airy trappings now. A funeral has no need for a separate symbol." Look at this, the epigrammatic sentence at the end. A funeral has no need for a separate symbol. Everything is lost. I don't worry too much about anything else now. What once he considered to be ideal, achievable, what he worked for, searched for, now he doesn't care. You can understand the value of Saadi's poem when you understand what we have here. This is the Iranian carpet on the wall of the United Nations building. We have it even now. This is a sample poem from Saadi's work. It is called Human Beings. Who are human beings? The Persian poet Saadi has given a definition. Now, after reading this, you will understand why Tughlaq was attracted to Saadi's poems, why he wanted every rose to be a poem. All human beings are members of one frame, since all at first from the same essence came. When time afflicts a limb with pain, the other limbs at rest cannot remain. If thou feel not for others' misery, a human being is no name for thee. So you can understand, this is the essence of humanism. We have to feel for each other. If we don't feel for each other, what kind of life is it? Tughlaq wanted to have a united kingdom, but he could not have it. He could not find it. He could not establish it. It was divided at the end. He lost himself. He could not understand people. People could not understand him, and so senselessness is what prevails at the end of the play. But we keep on moving towards that ideal through some international organization like United Nations. We still value such humanistic values. To summarize our presentation, we looked at the objectives of understanding this presentation. We focused on the structure of the play, 13 scenes, episodic structure. We understood the historical form of the play, the metadrama and meta-history that are embedded in the play. We focused on the themes of power, secularism, idealism, forgiveness, revenge, corruption and betrayal in the play. We also understood certain techniques used in the play like deep and shallow scenes, Akara and Makara comic pair, flashback, unities. The exact Aristotelian unities are not found in the play, but we have the unity of impression throughout the play. We also noticed irony, wit, humor. We gave examples for image and symbol, monologue, poetic language also, and I am sure you will like this poetic language used in the play. You will understand, you will value or appreciate the depth of psychological understanding of characters that Girish Karnad has presented to us. The themes and techniques that go together to make this play a great play. We have some references for you. Please look at any of them and learn more about Girish Karnad's play. All the best.